Well, welcome again to the Joseph Ashby Show on KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker. Bob Weeks sitting in today on this last segment for Joseph Ashby. Joseph took today, and he'll also take tomorrow off to conduct some personal business, so nothing's wrong, just a couple days off to go out of town on some business. We did have a winner for the thematic theme of the day, so don't worry about calling in for that. Jim Winiger, I believe, was the winner of the check for $14.80. So here we are at the last segment, and sitting next to me here in the guest chair at the Big Talker is Clinton Coen, who's a candidate for the Wichita City Council District 3, which is south and southeast Wichita. His opponent is the incumbent James Clendenin, who's been in office for almost 2 years, having won the election 2 years ago. And I have issued an invitation by email to James to either come in or call in either today or tomorrow. So Clinton's here this year. And Clinton, I think one of the things that's I'm impressed about is you're graduating from college this spring. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. I'm majoring in economics, and we'll graduate this spring.
And that's at Wichita State University?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. You know, I say that because about 2.5 years ago, I think I noticed that of the men on the Wichita City Council, the 4 men, none of them had graduated from college. I'm not saying that college is a requirement to be a Wichita City Council member. It shouldn't be, not at all. I'm not saying that you need to go to college to be smart or successful. But, you know, generally most of these people promote education as a good thing and as role models, and it was just real curious. I thought that none of them had graduated from college. But anyway, so I'm glad to see that you're there and getting ready to graduate and running a campaign at the same time. That can't be easy, is it?
It's got its challenges.
Yeah. So what do you have to do to campaign for just a district type of office? What type of methods do people use?
You have to knock on doors. Mm-hmm. You have to network. Networking is very important. Mm-hmm. Build networks of volunteers and supporters.
Yeah, and I think in the Wichita City Council district there's about 63,000 people or something along that line.
Yeah, it's somewhere along 60,000.
Yeah, because they just redistricted this year with the new district. So, Clinton, what are some of the big issues that might distinguish you from your opponent, the incumbent James Clendenin?
Some of the issues that distinguish me from Clendenin would be mostly my stance on fiscal issues. Clendenin's voted in favor of the budget that's full of debt and increasing our debt, which he claims is a balanced budget, but when you have large amounts of debt, it mm-hmm. can't really be a balanced budget. Mm-hmm. And he claims we've made large cuts. No cuts have been made. The budget's increased every year. Mm-hmm. And
they've cut, and what they mean when they say they've cut the budget is they had plans to spend a lot more, but now they're only going to spend a little more. So in government speak, that's a cut, right?
In government speak, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a cut simply of the budget. So like it's the same thing at the federal level. I think when President Obama says we've cut $2 trillion from the deficit, well, no, spending increases. It's just that it doesn't increase as fast as they want, so they call it a cut. Yeah.
Right. Another issue that's different is the development subsidies that are prominent downtown mm-hmm. with things like the Ambassador Hotel. Mm-hmm. I won't be voting in favor of things like the Ambassador Hotel. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you in favor of the subsidies for the hotel because the hotel's a good thing. I mean, we had. Absolutely. I mean, it's commerce, and commerce is a good thing. That's what makes us wealthy and makes us happy, and people have jobs and fun and everything. So, but you know, I think we both agree that the massive taxpayer subsidies that get poured into these things are not that good thing. You know, sometimes. You and I and other conservatives, fiscal conservatives, are criticized as not wanting people to have jobs because these economic development programs are pitched as job creation programs. And if we say the government should not be in that, then they say you don't want people to have jobs. How do you respond to that?
The incentives are hardly enough to even create a few jobs. I mean, you look at what we gave Hawker Beechcraft, mm-hmm. the $2.5 million forgivable loan. Mm-hmm. To divide that among the 3,600 employees, mm-hmm. it's just a few dollars per employee. Yeah. So if that's their decision and keeping an employee, they have a flawed business model.
Mm-hmm. And as we can see, Hawker is, shedding employees and went through bankruptcy, and their future is by no means certain as well. It's interesting. When I testified about that issue in front of the city council, I noted that Hawker Beechcraft is not within the city of Wichita. They're where they are on East Wichita, but there's a donut. I mean, all the land around Hawker Beechcraft is city of Wichita, but they're not city of Wichita, so they don't pay property taxes to the city of Wichita. And I wondered, does Wichita have the legal justification to give someone that's not in the city of Wichita taxpayer money?
I would think that if we're going to give anybody money, it should be somebody that's in the city limits. But we definitely shouldn't be giving money to people outside of the city limits.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy. But that was one of these questions. I know sometimes when you testify, by saying you, I mean anybody testifies in front of the city council, you ask these questions, and they don't have to answer them, right? I mean, they can just ignore them.
Right. They don't have to answer them, or they can chastise you. And
well, that's the other thing, that you go speak at city council, and then you say, now I'll answer some questions, and they may ask one or two or may ask none, but then you go sit down. And then what happens? Well, other people can go up and say things that contradict you, and very oftentimes might be false, or they might be true, but they're contradictory. And then the members of the council can pontificate from the bench too, without fear of anybody coming back up and confronting them. One of the things that Michael O'Donnell had done a couple times with me was he brought me back up to the bench and said, Bob, can you explain to, Kelly Carpenter, the director of finance, where did these figures come from? And I hold up a sheet of paper, right here from the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. So you've run into that too, haven't you?
Yeah, I've run into that with the mayor. Janet Miller's had to apologize at least one time.
She did, yeah. That video's on my YouTube channel, I think, that you can see. I think that between the time that she did that and someone else asked you some questions, I think someone slipped her a note or a text message saying, the way you treated this person wasn't really good. And you stood up for me one day with regard. What was that about Pete Meitzner?
Yes, Pete Meitzner saying that you should identify your blog. If everybody that spoke in front of the council had identified their blogs, they would be identifying their Facebook accounts, their Twitter accounts, everything. It would just be ridiculous.
Yeah. And, at the same time, we have a city council that all of these members, except for Michael O'Donnell, they voted, as I mentioned in the previous segment, for the no-bid contract to Key Construction, who is a lavish campaign contributor to almost everybody except for Michael O'Donnell. In other words, they're not contributing because they have a conservative or liberal ideology and they want to see candidates elected who satisfy that. They just want to get contracts from the city, and that's why they give this money.
Right. A vast majority of my opponent's funds have come from Key Construction.
I know that for his campaign finance report he filed that covered the year 2002, it was all from Key Construction or Warren Theater people, right. I believe. So, yeah, I don't, that's a problem, I think. I think he's got some more wide-based support now, but still not as much. There's been some talk in Wichita that we need a pay-to-play law. What are those laws about, and would you support those?
I would absolutely support those laws, and the laws are laws that would prohibit council members from voting to directly enrich their campaign contributors, like we saw with the no-bid contract at the Ambassador Hotel on the parking garage.
Yeah, and I know there are some other developers that do this type of thing over and over again. So, Clinton, do you know when the deadline to register to vote in the primary is?
I am not entirely sure.
It's coming up pretty quick because the election is 4 weeks from 2 days ago. Is that right? April 2nd, right. I think?
Yes.
And I know that usually about 3 weeks before then that closes. Clinton, if people are interested in contacting you to either volunteer or... Now, let me ask you this. Do you need any campaign donations?
Campaign funds are always helpful.
How can we get in touch with Clinton Coen?
You can find me on my website, that Coen, the number 4, Wichita.
And how do you spell Coen?
Coen.
Okay.
You can find me on Facebook. Just search Clinton Coen. I'm on Twitter. And my phone number is 993-9404.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for coming in, Clinton. And I can see we're just about out of time here before the 8 o'clock hour. And boy, these couple hours just zoomed by. So it's been Bob Weekson today for Joseph Ashby. I'll be in this same chair tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody, and tune in tomorrow.